The UFC welterweight division, 170 pounds, are some of the most technically gifted, hardest hitting, most entertaining fighters the sport has ever produced. You've got a man who dominated before the sport was even mainstream. You've got brawlers who turned every fight into a war. You've got a Nigerian nightmare who ran through the division like a freight train. Today I'm ranking the top 5 welterweights of all time in the UFC. My list, my reasonings. You'll disagree with some, and I really want to hear it in the comments. Let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest fighters of all time, one of the greatest welterweights ever, and one of the greatest human beings you could ever meet, who helped us build this sport and business.
Number 5, and this is a name a lot of you younger fans might sleep on. Matt Hughes. Before GSP, before Usman, before any of the names you're about to hear, Matt Hughes was the welterweight king. He held the belt twice and made 7 title defenses combining both reigns. 7 in an era where the division was stacked with killers.
The Matt Hughes one was crazy. Remember that?
Yeah, that was crazy. That
Catches him in a
that triangle choke where he had him up, and
he puts him to sleep, and as they get up, Matt Hughes, you hear his corner saying, like, "Stand up, you won." He's like, "What happened?"
Yeah. They were double knockout. Yeah. I have that one. I have one, the King of the Cage, a double knockout.
Here it is, right here. It's a relief. Losing my title feels like a relief. And I was like, wow, like that is so brave to be that honest in front of the, because everybody's like, you just got your ass kicked. It's like, this is a relief. It took a burden off my back. I'll be back. I'm gonna regroup, but I needed that. I needed to just step off the fucking top of the hill for a little while.
Hughes was a former Division 1 wrestler who brought a level of physicality to welterweight that the division had never seen before. He didn't just beat people, he smashed them, slammed them, and ground them into the canvas. He beat Frank Tig twice. He beat Sean Shirk. He beat BJ Penn in one of the most iconic finishes in welterweight history. Matt Hughes is the foundation that the welterweight division was built on. Without him, none of the names above him on this list have a template to follow.
I showed everyone I'm a true fighter. I come to fight. No matter what happens, I keep coming, and I'm trying to knock people out. UFC welterweight champion of the world.
Robbie Lawler was the man. He was an assassin, just smashing people.
His nickname was Ruthless. Some of the most ruthless, vicious knockouts you will ever see.
If I hurt him, I wasn't taking his neck.
What were you gonna take?
His soul.
Former UFC welterweight champion, former middleweight elite XC champion, fought in Pride, Strikeforce, IFL.
No matter what happens, I keep coming, and I'm trying to knock people out.
People underestimate how high of a fight IQ you had because you were so violent.
Number 4, the most dangerous man to ever set foot in the welterweight division, Robbie Lawler. Lawler is on this list not because he was a champion, but because of how he fought. The man was an absolute wrecking ball. Now, every single time he stepped into the octagon, you knew you were about to see a war.
When I was young, I kept asking my dad, let me get into martial arts, let me fight, let me box. So I started Taekwondo when I was like 7 or 8. I did that at a pretty high level.
Yeah,
like I think Robbie Lawler stopped doing it. I think Cowboy, a lot of these guys stopped.
Robbie stopped sparring completely for years while he was fighting for Strikeforce. But then when he moved to American Top Team, he started sparring again. And he was training really hard, and that's when actually he became the welterweight world champion.
He's so fucking tough. Like, I want to see that Askren fight again, because I put my money on Robbie Lawler. That he does not care about. He looked better than I've ever seen him. He's in crazy shape.
I've gone back and forth about 5 times on whether or not that was a good stoppage, but Usman convinced me after we watched the footage that it was a bad stoppage.
Yeah,
I think Robbie was okay. I think
he just relaxed. He was there. He had I don't know how many more seconds, but that bulldog joke's a nightmare. But not for Robbie Lawler.
I think he was all right, but it's hard to tell. It's just unfortunate. And again, Herb Dean is as good a referee as there is on planet Earth.
Yeah.
There is no one better than him. Yeah. There's no one better. Herb Dean is as good as it gets.
Yep.
He made a mistake, but it's hard to say if it was a mistake, because I wasn't even sure it was a mistake. We were not sure.
He came back from being released by the UFC, rebuilt himself from scratch, and clawed his way back to the title. That comeback alone deserves respect. But it's what he did as a champion that cements his place here. The Johnny Hendricks rematch, the Rory McDonald fight, the Carlos Condit fight, 3 of the greatest welterweight title fights in UFC history, and Lawler was in the middle of all of them, bleeding, brawling, and finding ways to win when most people would have been finished.
Life. It's a year where I changed my family life. This is a year I stopped spectating and I started participating in greatness. A year of the chosen one, a year of my time to reign.
This is the year I take home gold, I keep gold, and I fight for my fucking life for this belt.
Number 3, and I know this one might surprise a few people, Tyron Woodley. Woodley doesn't get the credit he deserves. He held the welterweight belt for over 3 years and made 5 defenses. 5 against some of the most dangerous opponents in the division.
Working very hard to, big shot, looking to finish it right away. Haran just trying to survive. Big ground and pound. That's it. He's out.
He knocked out Robbie Lawler, the man we just talked about, in the first round to win the title. Clean right hand. Lawler never saw it coming. That alone announced Woodley as a different type of welterweight champion. As a champion, he beat Demian Maia, one of the best grapplers in UFC history, by keeping the fight standing and surviving arguably the most grueling grappling assault in welterweight history.
My thing is, I want to be one of the best in the sport. I want to leave a legacy behind for myself. I want my boys to see me bust my butt, do hard work and dedication, and finally see that goal that I told them was going to happen pay off. I want to overachieve this year. I want to do more than what I thought I physically could do. More talent and tools come out in the Octagon that I thought that I could even have come out in 15 to 25 minutes. That's my goal.
Woodley had some of the most explosive knockout power the division has ever seen, elite wrestling, and the kind of one-punch danger that made every opponent think twice before loading up.
How rare is it nowadays to say you're the first one to do something?
Fighting out of the red corner, a freestyle fighter holding a professional record, 15 wins, 1 loss. He stands 6 feet tall, weigh in at 170 pounds. Fighting out of Dallas, Texas, by way of Octagon, Nigeria, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed welterweight champion of the world, Kamaru, the Nigerian Nightmare Usman.
My strength is always going to overcome this because I've been preparing for this all my life.
Number 2, the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamar Usman. Usman held the welterweight belt for over 4 years and made 5 title defenses, the second longest reign in welterweight history. He beat every single person the UFC put in front of him, and he did it in a dominant fashion.
You dethroned the guy who many people, including me, were saying is a very good argument for the best welterweight ever. I felt like Tyron is like, you got to give it, there's legendary status, right? There's like, Matt Hughes has legendary status for being the original. He was one of the first wrestlers who really knew how to submit guys. And then Georges St-Pierre was, of course, in many people's eyes, the greatest of all time in the welterweight division, went on this long run. But I was like, man, if Tyron beats Usman, I was like, there's a real good argument for him being number 1 of all time. Beating Wonder Boy, smashing Darren Till, beating Demian Maia, knocking out Robbie Lawler to win the title.
What made Usman special was his evolution as a fighter. He came in as a wrestler, elite, suffocating, impossible to take down or escape from. And then he added his striking. And then he added his power. By the end of his reign, he was knocking out former champions like it was easy. He stopped Jorge Masvidal twice. He submitted Colby Covington. He knocked out Gilbert Burns in one of the best title fight comebacks the division had ever seen. Burns had him badly hurt in the first round, and Usman came back and stopped him. The only blemish on his welterweight record was his fight and his loss to Leon Edwards. But on dominance, resume, and title reign length, Kamar Usman is the second greatest welterweight.
For well over a decade, Georges St-Pierre exemplified excellence both in and out of the Octagon.
Georges St-Pierre represents the very best aspects of martial arts.
Without argument, the greatest welterweight champion in UFC history.
Number 1, and honestly, if you watched this division at any point in the last 20 years, you already knew this was coming. GSP.
I think the guy that led that, for me, was GSP.
Oh, yeah.
I was always very impressed with how every fight, he showed up with something different.
Yeah.
While his opponent was still like, yeah, GSP has got skills, but I still got this right hand. Okay. You gonna talk to me about your right hand?
Always learning.
He was always learning. He was in the city with the kickboxing guy. Or he was over in
Phil Nurse. He was with Phil Nurse and the Watt. And then he would go with all the Greg Jackson guys.
Wild Card. He would go over there.
Go to Wild Card, train his boxing.
Remember when he fought, I think it was Josh Koscheck? and he was jabbing. Was that the fight where he fucking broke the jab out and he had trained at Wild Card?
Yeah, his jab, it fucked Josh's eye up so bad that Josh couldn't fly home.
I remember that. I remember all that shit, and that's what I liked about him. His training was all. Another time, you know, you're watching and he's doing gymnastics.
Yeah.
Where's gymnastics in all this player game?
Well, he just realized that gymnasts are so powerful because they have such control of their body, and he's like, well, I'm going to get better control of my body. So he learned how to do backflips.
Unbelievable. Swimming.
Yeah,
fucking
incredible.
doing this.
Here's why he's number one in one sentence. He held a welterweight belt for over 2,000 days, made 9 consecutive successful title defenses, beat everybody put in front of him, vacated the belt without ever losing it, came back years later and won a title in a completely different weight class. GSP didn't just win fights, he solved them. He was the most complete mixed martial artist that UFC has ever produced. Elite wrestling, sharp boxing, precise kickboxing, ironclad takedown defense. The man had no weaknesses and exploited every weakness you had. He beat BJ Penn so convincingly that Penn's corner stopped the fight between rounds. He beat Carlos Condit. He beat everyone. So there you have it, the top 5 welterweights in UFC history. Now I know some of you are fired up by some of these names on the list, but I do want to hear your thoughts. Tell me in the comments below, who is your greatest welterweight of all time? And if you enjoyed this one, smash the like button and subscribe. I drop these every day. Take care.